There is nothing wrong with your internet. Do not attempt to adjust your settings. We are controlling the podcast. We control the squealing and the screams. We can make your heart flutter, your eyes blur from tears, or sharpen your mind to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit back. We are in control of what you hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong with your settings. You are about to experience the awe and mystery known as the female mind. You are now entering the Fangirl Zone. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 118 of SYFY Talk in the Fangirl Zone, a podcast where we discuss shows on the SYFY channel. I'm Sean, Fangirl S.
And I'm Steve, and tonight we'll be discussing episode 1 of season 1 of Ghost Wars.
This one was weird. I say that about a lot of them, but this one was really weird.
Yes, it did take a while to figure out what the is going on.
I don't think it did too bad with ratings, though.
No, well, it was really interesting because it had a .10 in adults 18 to 49, which was a fairly sizable drop from Van Helsing, but the total number of viewers was more at .512 million. It's like,
how did that work out?
How did that happen?
That's weird.
Nielsen, you got some explaining to do.
Yeah, right. So, alright, so episode 1 was entitled Death's Door. Okay, there's an understatement. Just as troubled median Roman Mercer prepares to leave the small town of Portmore, an earthquake strikes the Alaskan island and awakens a supernatural force bent on destruction. Okay, so at least we know kind of what's going on with that explanation.
Right, which we didn't have to start the episode.
Right, because it was the strangest thing. Like I was saying, there was a lot of deaths, there was a lot of crap happening everywhere, and there were people in it that I didn't recognize right away.
Right. Because
we have Vincent D'Onofrio, who is Father Dan Carpenter. Right. What?
Yeah.
He's playing a long-haired Catholic priest, which, first of all, those things, I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What's
wrong with this picture?
Never in my life seen a long-haired Catholic priest.
Oh.
So that was kind of weird. You have Meatloaf in here, who yes. I didn't even realize it was Meatloaf. And then we have our lead, who looked really familiar, but I couldn't place him. I kept thinking he looked like somebody else. But apparently, this young man, God, I feel so old saying it that way.
Right.
He was in iCarly, I think is what I told you.
Yes.
And he's got this huge following.
Especially on Twitter.
Yes.
He blew Twitter up.
He did. So, Avin Georgia, I might be saying his last name wrong, and I'm sorry. He has got this just huge following, though. And we have got some of the weirdest, mashups of people that are going to be on this show, or have been, already.
Right. Luvia Peterson is playing the mayor. Huh?
Right. You have Kim Coates, which you may not recognize his name, but I'm sure you're going to recognize his face.
Yes.
And, oh my gosh, what is his name?
Tim Kinney is the sheriff that didn't last through the episode.
Zach Santiago, who is also one of the Rowdy Three over on Dirk Gently, that we talk about here. So, there's just a lot of people that are going to be, all mixed into this show that right. I know we've seen more than once in several different sci-fi shows, too.
Oh, yes, and during the evening's tweeting, both Ghost Wars and Van Helsing were basically had a huge room with a bunch of them from both shows tweeting at the same time.
Oh, nice.
And we found out from our executive producer, Mr. Simon Berry, that Ryan Robbins will be making an appearance on Ghost Wars now that his character on Van Helsing has departed, stage left. And, of course, as soon as I saw that, I tweeted Luvia that I really, really hope we get to see Brian and you team up and make just a kick-A team on Ghost Wars. And she goes, you might get what you wish for. Yes. So love to see those two team up. But they're going to have to get on board real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like after this episode, it's like, okay, don't get attached to anybody.
No, except maybe Maggie, because she's already gone.
That's true. Well, I think it's probably pretty safe that we can get attached to Roman, since he seems to be the star of the show. That would be awkward to kill him off.
Right.
Not that they haven't done that in shows before, but that'd be a little awkward. So, yeah, we have the priest, Father Dan. I actually knew a Father Dan, but anyway. Delivering a eulogy for Marty. And it's like, oh, okay, we're starting with a funeral. That's odd.
Yeah, a eulogy inside a bar.
Yeah. Okay, then. I guess things are a little different up there in Alaska.
Yeah.
But suddenly, like, lights are flickering and things move a little, and the drinks are no longer drinks. They seem to be blood. And even a form, possibly, a ghost form of Marty. What does this mean? I'm thinking absolutely nothing good.
Right. Definitely.
Because then you see Father look down at his hand, and things look like they're crawling underneath the skin.
Right.
Yep.
Leeches.
I think I'm going to tap out right now. We're jumping into this. There's like no backstory. What is happening?
Right. And I think that's what really confused a whole lot of people was that opening. It was just, what in the hell is happening here?
Well, that's supposed to be the now. And then we finally find out we're going to start 3 days back. It's like, okay, thank you.
Right.
Let me know what's happening. Because I don't mind jumping into a story, but wow.
Yeah.
Something like that, I might need a little backstory with this. So
it might be helpful. Yes.
Yeah. So, well, again, we're at a church. And Father Dan is finishing up his sermon. And people are leaving. And he's saying goodbye to Roman. And Roman's like, you were always very nice and helpful. I appreciate it. And I love it because as the priest is talking to him, he's, saying goodbye to the other parishioners. And he's like, oh, shalom. Because apparently he is a Jewish parishioner.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, tell your friends, we're Catholic plus. And I'm like, I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I mean, this is some weird thing that I would not expect. So I find it amusing as, being lapsed Catholic. I'm a keister. But it's like, okay, well, small town. They probably don't have a whole lot in regards to churches or temples and whatever. You probably have to practice by yourself if you're anything other than like the church in town.
Right.
So I can get that. Because it seems like a really small town. Because everybody there seemed to know Roman. And they were all pissy about him.
Yes. The mayor said that he couldn't leave too soon.
Yeah, nice there, lady.
Yeah.
Good. I really want you running this town, but whatever. So, the kid's at the bus stop. Okay, he's waiting to leave, and you have people walking by looking at him and kind of sneering. And then we have Meatloaf, who walks by. The kid's he's the only one, so he's kind of laying on the bench at the bus stop. He has to stop and stare at him, and then all of a sudden he's like, freak! Really? Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because you look kind of creepy, and you made a point to follow him over there just so you can yell that. He's like, you should leave. That's what he's doing. He's at the bus stop, duh.
Right.
He's trying to leave because you guys are all like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs from what I've seen already.
Right.
But then next thing you know, we see a girl pop up and they're talking and she's like, you can't leave. You're like my best friend. And next thing you know, he gets on the bus and then she's next to him, cutscene. And they're talking. And the bus is going, and then we cut to a woman on the bus who looks back. There's nobody sitting with him.
Right, and he's sitting there just talking to nothing. So no wonder they kind of feel like he might be a little bit off-center, shall we say.
Yeah, there we go. That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so who the hell's he talking to? Apparently he's talking to a ghost.
Yes.
And as, they're talking and arguing, and he keeps saying hi to the older woman who's sitting there. Cut to the front of the bus, and there's just a person in the road, and the bus driver swerved. And then suddenly there's like an earthquake, and you see like rock slide kind of happening, and the bus is going towards a cliff's edge, and the bus is like flipped over, and suddenly there's fire. It's like, what is happening? And then you see our ghost girl, who's yelling at Roman to wake up, and he probably hit his head, because there seemed to be a lot of blood. So he starts making his way to the back of the bus, and then he turns to help the woman he kept saying hi to, and he grabs her and he starts to pull her, and then what looks, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, it looked like she was grabbed by somebody and pulled towards the front.
Right.
Okay, so it wasn't just me.
No.
Okay.
No.
And Roman gets out, and the bus goes over the edge, and that's all she wrote.
Right.
Because then you have the sheriff there and the deputies, and, you know, the sheriff's, like, trying to talk to him, and he's like, I just want to leave. I wanted to get out of here, but I got rid of my stuff, I got rid of my place, everything I had was in the bag. And the deputy's like, that my mom was there, what's happening? It's like, so I can see this being really emotional for these people, especially it being a small town.
Right.
Because there was, maybe half a dozen people on the bus?
Easy.
And now those are all dead, and the only person who's alive is the one that most of them can't stand because they've been a dick to him, like, all their lives.
Right. So they're going to blame him for it.
Right. And at the same time, why would he help you with anything? Because you guys are all being jerks. Well, unfortunately, the only place that they can go to, because nobody can leave right now till they make sure that the earthquake didn't do any damage, is Roman's mom's place. So, you know, the sheriff drops him off there. Apparently, Roman's very unwilling to go there.
Right.
And it's like, okay, at first I thought this was like some old rundown, decrepit house, but then when you go inside, it's like, oh, okay, it was just like boarded up.
Right.
Because apparently his mom has left town for a while, and...
Probably permanently.
Yeah, but we don't know anything.
And no, we really don't.
But he's there, and you kind of see like a shadow in the background. It's like, oh, great. Is somebody in there trying to be like a jerk or something?
Right. Another meatloaf sighting.
Right. And I'm guessing, because we don't exactly know, that it's actually Maggie, who is the girl who was trying to help him on the bus. And apparently they were really good friends, or are really good friends. I don't know, because she's dead, so...
Right. We don't know what their past is. We just know that, yes, Maggie likes talking to him.
Probably because it's the only person she can actually talk to.
Right. Yeah, she doesn't seem to be as angry as some of the other non-living entities in this town seem to be.
Mm-hmm. And it was interesting because, does he say something about he tried to save her? Oh, he tried to save the woman on the bus, is
Right.
what he's talking about. But, like, Maggie kind of let slip that if something happens and everybody's mad, ghost-wise, there's nothing she can do to save him.
Right.
And it's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So that was a little confusing, because she just kind of throws it out there, like she knows, because he says something about the earthquake, and she's like, oh yeah, that was more than that. Okay, what was it? What do you know? Why aren't you telling me?
Right.
That didn't make a whole lot of sense. Why are you going to kind of like sprinkle information, knowing that something's possibly going to happen to get Roman hurt? Because she seemed to know something.
Right.
I don't know. And then all of a sudden she's like, I'm going to go check on my dad. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is your dad dead too, or is your dad alive?
Right.
And that's why you need to go check on him. Make sure he's still alive.
Yeah, I don't know if, you know, like many other supernatural shows that we've seen with ghosts, like, they can't really stay on the same subject very long because they're dead and their brains kind of, you know, float around, so to speak, or what the deal
Become
is.
all swooshy.
Yeah, if that's what it is, because she kind of seemed to be jumping around.
Right.
But I guess we'll find out. This was only the first episode with this, but... So, Roman decides he wants food that's not expired.
Yeah.
And heads over to the Chieftain pub, and right when he goes in there, so he goes in and we don't see him in there right away. We see the bartender.
Right.
And we start hearing things. And there's a bunch of pictures, which I'm assuming are the people who they've lost in this town. Because it says, we'll always remember, or something along those lines.
Right.
And she starts hearing something, and sounds like a baby crying.
Yes.
And she's like, all right, guys, we're closing. You gotta leave. Sticks her head in the bathroom. Nothing. Goes back and, like, look around. Doesn't see anybody. And like I said, I'm assuming this is right before Roman walks in. And then she's looking at the pictures. And there's a baby. And she starts looking at it closer. And the eyes in the baby picture moves.
Yeah.
I'd have been like, and I'm done.
Yeah.
Because that would freak me out. And then next
Yeah.
thing you know, you see Roman. So yeah, okay, she's gonna scream because the baby's face, something happened there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have screamed too. You know, he's like, I just need some food. She's like, all right, I'll get you food. I think at that point she's like, okay, I just need somebody to talk, like that's really there, because that was weird.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, she was unnerved and definitely was very happy to have another human being in the building with herself.
Yeah, and we find out that the woman he was talking to, Mrs. Fu, sorry, I couldn't think of her name, is kind of like following him because you kind of see her and kind of don't. Like, not really full-on apparition.
Yeah, right. But she definitely growls at him.
Right. So why is he mad? He tried to save you, and you shouldn't be mad.
Right.
Maybe she's trying to give him information. Who knows?
Yeah. Still doesn't add up yet.
No. Nope.
And the next day, we see a bunch of laborers mending a derelict bridge, and they decide it's time for a break when one of them is attacked by a spirit and is thrown to his death.
Yeah, that was weird, because I'm like, why is his arm all of a sudden, like, looked like catching fire? I'm like, is he supposed to be a vampire or something? What the hell is happening?
Yes. And he gets impaled a la Bobo style.
Yeah, a lot of cross references here. There we go.
Yes.
And then the next day, well, the same day that all that's happening, Roman goes to see the sheriff. The sheriff seemed to be the only person who wasn't a total jerk.
Right, to him.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, and he's like, I need to talk to you. And then he tries to tell him, listen, I'm seeing Mrs. Fu. These people who died aren't really there. It's like, basically, I see dead people.
Right.
And the sheriff's like, you're under a lot of stress. Maybe you shouldn't talk about that. It's like, yeah, that's not what it is. But all right, I guess we'll go with that. Because the sheriff gets called away. And Roman's looking at the 2A mirror. Because they happen to be in, like, the interrogation room. And it fogs up and there was writing. And I can't remember what it said, though.
I think it was no escape.
Yeah, apparently they don't want him to leave either.
Right.
Well, that's not good. Because we find out the sheriff got called out because everybody who was working on the bridge is dead now.
Right. No. It was just one a second ago.
Right. So, this ain't cool. Now what?
No. Yeah, but of course, they couldn't leave the rest of the workers alive because they would have said, oh, well, the guy he got thrown off the bridge by nothing.
Yeah.
He didn't swan dive jump. I mean,
they could have probably played one off like, oh my gosh, I didn't see. He must have fell.
Right.
But there are more sinister things happening, obviously. Well, poor Roman. Like you said, he's bearing the brunt of everybody blaming him because of the crash. And of course you have people who are like, his mom put a curse on this town. It's like, oh, geez, this poor kid.
Right.
He's so super screwed.
He has little to no hope.
But we do get a little more background because obviously he's going to go hide out. The only place he has is Mom's house. And Maggie's talking to him again. And she's like, why do you want to leave? It's so much fun here. Well, no.
Yeah.
Because Roman, has to tell her, listen, when I was, 6 years old, I had a friend. We did everything together. It was great. Well, it turns out that my friend was dead. He died the year before.
Right.
I thought it could have been played off like an imaginary friend, but apparently everyone around there was a jerk to him, and they've basically been a jerk to him since he was 6. So that kind of sucks for him, and I feel bad.
Right, yeah, and it was all because of his mom.
Because they said
definitely thought his mom was
a witch.
Yeah, off her rocker and, a witch.
Yes, and then, like I said, we find out from Maggie that a soul that dead that can't or won't move on, will suddenly take vengeance on the living. Well, what's keeping them there? But she kind of hinted like something's keeping them all there.
Right, but without giving us a hint as to what it is.
Right. Well, of course, you have what turns out to be Mrs. Fu's son is one of the deputies.
Right.
And he just happens to be talking to a bunch of drunk guys in the bar, talking smack about Roman.
Right.
So, great job, deputy. Because what happens? They get their figurative pitchforks and they go after Roman.
Exactly.
With not so figurative items.
Yeah.
You have a noose.
Yes.
A bat. I think there was a shovel.
Yep.
Yeah, so basically you have an angry, drunk mob going after Roman to, quote unquote, intimidate him. Really? He was trying to leave.
Sheriff. Yeah.
Yeah, you better get out of this town. I'm trying, dumbass. Yeah. I keep trying to leave. You jerks keep bringing me back.
Yeah.
I think at this point he would have swam across whatever the the length as the bay or whatever to get to away from these people. And yeah, the sheriff has to come and take the leader and basically take him to jail, and looks at the other guys. Do you want to join your friend? Say it. Say it. It's like, oh God, this is the weirdest kind of group here.
Right. But apparently the sheriff knew that they were kind of the troublemakers of the town because he had dealt with them before and knew exactly what to say.
Yeah, not exactly surprised.
No.
That Tweedledum and Tweedledummer happening over there, but
led by Meatloaf.
Yeah, who's apparently his name is Doe.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the sheriff is gonna give a ride to Roman somewhere, but he can't go too far because the coroner, who apparently was the woman who we've seen that was going to try to get out of town too with her kid. Very, very convenient.
Yes.
She's like telling the sheriff, you need to see this. Well, you need to have this guy sent to Anchorage for an autopsy. He's like, why? He's like, well, his heart exploded. And then Roman's just like, from fear? What? Right. How are you just going to throw that in there? And, okay, now I can see why people are like, all right, listen, you weirdo.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. All of a sudden, like, the lights kind of flicker, and Roman's like, you need to get the kid out. Because the woman, again, weird. You're there, you have your kid when you're, like, working on dead bodies. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think I'd have a little kid who seems really impressionable down there.
Right. Yeah. Find some way to have somebody babysit that kid instead of having him come to work day.
Yeah. I mean, granted.
No.
Yeah. I mean, okay, you're a coroner, you're the mortician, you're kind of everything in one. I just don't think that's something that is, like normal everyday activity for kids his age.
Yes. Not a healthy activity for a child.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe drawing and coloring instead. There's a thought. But anyway, Roman's like, get the kid out of here. Now. Go. And so, like, she doesn't even question. She's like, no. All right.
I'm out.
So apparently she at least believes that he knows stuff. And she's like, let's get you out.
Yeah.
Gets him out. But then as soon as they get out, the door closes and locks, apparently.
Yes.
But then I'm like, okay, did it really lock? Because it turns out that these ghosts are giving visions to people, which are scaring them and causing them to do things. It's almost like they take over their mind.
Right.
So, was the door really locked? Or was it that the sheriff couldn't open the door because he thought it was locked?
Yeah, I'm thinking that's probably it.
Well, he's like, the sheriff ends up fighting with the ghost, which turns out it's all in his head. He's even trying to shoot it of the dead worker, which is probably a bad idea because, hello, you still have Roman in the room.
Right.
Well, there's fighting and grappling, and the sheriff ends up grabbing the device, which I'm assuming was with the embalming fluid.
Yeah, I think so.
And like all of a sudden Roman is like pulling it. It's like, no, it's in your head. Look at me. And it ends up, just right into, the sheriff plunges it right into his neck, his own neck. It's like, right. And the whole time he's seeing the body, like this dead body doing it to him.
Right.
And Roman's trying to like stop it. And then he's like, got his hand on the wound. He's like, no, don't. We're going to get help. It's like, the sheriff was in the show for about 24 minutes. What the heck?
The only person that could have any hope of protecting Roman from all of the people in the town.
Right.
Much less the ghosts in the town. And he's already gone. You go, this is not looking good for Roman whatsoever.
No. And then he's got his fingerprints on the weapon, basically, at this point.
Right, yeah. So he's the only one that survives the bus crash. And now the sheriff's dead.
Yeah.
And his prints are all over the murder weapon.
Not the best of things right now.
He's not having a good day at all.
No. So, all right. She gets out, kind of. And then, like, weirdly, he goes and he, like, for some reason, ends up going to the Chieftain pub. Like, was he meaning to go there? I don't understand what was happening here. Did he just
I think he was just trying, that was the closest place to get help.
Okay.
I think he was heading there to try to get help, and he walks right in on the opening of the series.
Yeah.
With Father Dan and Marty going all crazy, and we get to see actually what really does happen, and he just goes off.
Well, it was interesting because you see all this weird stuff happening. Like, I don't know if this is normal decor up in Alaska. Somebody up there, if you're listening, you can let me know.
Right.
Like, there's deer heads on the wall and moose heads and like all of a sudden, like, there's blood coming out of one of the mounted heads and like dropping into to drink.
Right.
And then what was it, like bees or something all of a sudden?
Yeah. Wasp or something.
Yeah, something weird. And then you have the father having all of the visions and yeah, he's about to like stick a knife in his hand. And that's when like Roman's outside and he's like, no. It's like, okay, that was quick. And then it stopped. But then like everybody gets out when he goes in and there's no more wasps. There's nothing following these people.
Right. Except Marty is still there.
And he gets Father Carpenter out. But then, like, all of a sudden Roman's like, you have to leave. And his eyes get all crazy and, like, glow. And Marty then, like, disappears.
Right.
What?
Yeah. So.
Why didn't you do that with the sheriff?
Right. Yeah. You go, okay. Now, did you realize you had this power or did you just discover it? Because from the reaction that he had afterwards, it didn't seem like it surprised him.
Right. Which is why he should have done that with the sheriff to save his one ally.
Right.
Maybe not so much, huh? Whatever.
Yeah. Gotta have more drama. Nobody on his side.
I guess.
Except maybe Father Dan now.
Yeah. Well, then we have a little meeting down at the church. Is that even safe? Who knows? With the mayor, Father Dan, Roman, and the one deputy that was left? 2 deputies?
Right. And one being the son of the woman that died in the bus crash.
Right.
So. And
I love the mayor's like, I need more proof. And the 2 deputies are like, we need to call in the National Guards. We need to try to evacuate. The mayor was killing me with that. We need more proof. How many more people you want to die?
Yeah. This isn't an accident.
Right. Hello, it just affected how many people in the bar. And so they're driving, like, okay, we'll make sure the bridge is safe. Really? The bridge where all those workers were just dead?
Right.
But, you have, Officer Fu, who's like talking to Roman and apologizing and, oh, I'm sorry, we were such a jerk. I believe you. You're the only person who I think can see and help us. And as Roman's like, stop the car, the bridge is out. And he just keeps driving. What are you talking about? It's fine. You just said you believed him.
Right.
I was so pissed at this moment. How are you going to say, I believe you, and then not listen?
Right.
So Roman tucks and rolls out of the car.
Right.
And never slowed down. The officer just keeps driving and then bloop, disappears.
Right. Which was a nice effect.
Right. And what we don't see here, because we just see a bridge, and I'm like, okay, is Roman crazy? But all of a sudden, the other car stops that has Father Dan and the other officer, which may be the last officer left now.
Right.
And he's like, what's wrong? Wait, where'd the car go?
Yeah.
I love it, at least.
They're still seeing the bridge.
Right.
And the car just disappeared. And Roman goes, that's because it's really not there, dumbass.
Right. He tells them, no, they're screwing with you. There's nothing there. And they're like, oh, and then, they pull back to the other side, and there's really no bridge. It looks like freaking Godzilla went through the thing. It's all twisted and tons of it missing. It's like, okay, so an earthquake did that? Because are you sure? You sure Jaegers aren't up there breaking through the bridge? I don't know. That didn't look normal. Not for an earthquake. I don't know. That's a hella earthquake, maybe.
Right.
So basically a whole lot of people died. A lot of weird shit went down. And I'm really scratching my head wondering what's happening next.
Right. You have one kid that seems to be able to see them at times.
Talk to some.
And stop some.
So, all right. What's coming next? How many people were scratching their heads? Because when I happened to be home, so I was able to tweet this one. I feel like a lot of people were just talking about how dreamy Roman's eyes were.
Yeah, on Twitter especially.
He has a lot of fans. And then a lot of people who were like, what in the hell is going on? So basically, Portmore is not someplace I'm going to visit.
No.
Yeah. And you're better off swimming across at this point, guys, because I don't think anything good's going to happen.
shoot, you could jump in the water and you think you're getting ate by Jaws.
True. And it could be absolutely nothing.
Right. You guys need to get in and have some, who are you going to call?
Right. Yeah.
Ghostbusters!
Totally weird. So I guess we'll see what happens. Will we actually find something out in this next episode, or is it going to be weird special effects?
Yeah. Well, if you think back to the first episode of Continuum, there was a whole bunch of that, what the just happened?
Yeah, that's true.
So Simon Barry definitely gave us that shake your head and go, what is going on episode, that's for sure. So you definitely got to give it a couple more episodes to see if it really turns into something that is going to be worthwhile. I have all confidence in Mr. Barry's abilities, and so I expect after a couple of episodes, this will be something that is just awesome.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
Because it's weird. All right. So, what do you guys think? Shoot us an email at sci-fi-talk@fangirlzone.com. Check out everything over at fangirlzone.com. We keep posting little snippets here and there of everything that we find because it's got some little stuff that they send us. We haven't gotten anything on this show to like post this up, but we're putting a lot of news up there and music and such. So let us know how you feel about the new way that I have it designed. I'm hoping it's working. I want feedback, guys. But don't forget to rate and review us on iTunes and every other platform that you're finding us on, because we are on a ton of the podcatchers now. So good ratings and reviews always help people find the show. And of course, don't forget to tweet with us during the show at FGZ Podcast, because you guys have some of the best stuff that you talk about during the show. So I don't feel like I'm lost reading this. It cracks me up actually reading along with you guys. So for this episode of Sci-Fi Talk, I am Sean Fangirl S.
And I'm Steve. The fact is, people are assholes. When they encounter something different, it scares them. Poor pig.
Until next time.